What are the implications of serious Jesus research engaged in by Jewish as well as Christian scholars for interfaith dialogue and understanding? In my new book, Luke, Illuminating the Sage of Galilee, I show how such research forces us to consider not Mark, but Luke as the earliest synoptic record. I reproduce a fresh rendering of the text of Luke in English, highlighting every word or phrase that betrays Hebraic influence, with extensive links to ancient Jewish sources, including the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Mishnah, Talmud, and assorted rabbinic literature. The text is reordered, not by traditional chapters, but into acts and scenes, corresponding to the original order of a hypothetical Hebrew biography of Jesus. The operating theory is that beneath the Greek texts of Matthew, Mark, and Luke lay a long-vanished Semitic, indeed a Hebrew subtext, the haunting tones of which may be imperfectly glimpsed through the occasionally awkward syntax of the traditional gospel narratives. As a literary product, the Gospels betray their origins not as a collection of oral compositions slapped together by Greek-speaking redactors decades after the life and death of their principal subject, but as a multi-layered translation project, dissecting, rearranging, reassembling, and parroting what theoretically began as a single Hebraic document, a hypothetical life of Jesus of Nazareth. We can, in fact, argue that the Christian Gospels are inherently the product of homegrown Jewish thought during the days of the Second Temple. Moreover, they present us with the serious prospect that the language in which the words of the historical Jesus were recorded, and by extension, the mother tongue in which he taught, was not, as long supposed, Aramaic, but Hebrew. Hardly a dead or dormant language, this was the Hebrew of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and subsequently the Mishnah. In a real sense, the Jesus of history becomes Jesus the Jewish sage. As a case in point, Mark's Gospel, long supposed to have been written first, relates that when Jesus healed on the Sabbath, quote, the Pharisees went out and immediately counseled with the Herodians against him, how they might destroy him, unquote. But in Luke's account, the opponents discuss what they might do with Jesus, as opposed to Mark and Matthew, who report that the Pharisees seek to destroy him. Luke's language is reminiscent of the Talmudic account of the ancient Chassid, Choni HaMe'agel, the circle drawer, who demanded of heaven that rain be sent. We read, quote, Shimon ben Shetach relayed to Choni HaMe'agel, if you were not Choni, I would have decreed ostracism upon you. However, what can I do to you? As you nag God, and he does your bidding, like a son who nags his father, and his father does his bidding, unquote. This is a far cry from equating the Pharisees, who were the progenitors of the rabbinic Judaism that has come down to us today, with a murderous conspiracy to have Jesus executed. The bottom line is that for Christians, there is considerable value in reading through the Greek Gospels to uncover, at least potentially, the words of Jesus himself, unadorned by layers of subsequent theological overlay. For Jews, the prospect of vivisecting the Gospels to encounter not the father of another faith, but an ancient Israelite sage, perhaps an ancient Chassid, or perhaps harboring serious sympathies for the zealot freedom fighters of his day, opens a door to appreciating the great Nazarene in a manner not thought possible since the inception of Christianity, nearly 2 millennia ago. It is in that spirit and with that aspiration that this annotated version of the book of Luke is presented. It is sincerely hoped that it will add to the discussion of the Jewish Jesus in all his color and first-century flavor. Let the learning begin.